Welcome to the Success Journey Show. Let's travel together through the lives of individuals on their road to success.
Hey, what's going on, travelers? We are back with you for another week of the Success Journey Show. This is Ricky Venters, and I am here with none other than Marlon Madden. Marlon, what's good, bro? How you doing today?
I am ecstatic, happy. Sir. I'm not just ecstatic about life. I'm ecstatic about this our guest we're gonna have. But I'm telling you, I'm seeing some results from in the gym. So I'm really happy, man. I'm almost going outside in the cold with my shirt off.
Oh man, I hope the listeners, man, you got a quick visual of that. No, that's good, man. I'm feeling good too, man. I like the listeners. You guys know I'm going for these Spartan races this year, Marlon and myself, and cardio is my weakest link, man. It's always has been, and I mean I can throw all the excuses out there. But, just bottom line, it's just the hardest thing I can do in the gym, man. And I'm seeing progress, bro. I'm seeing progress, and it's not one of those progress where, you're running 1 mile one day and then 10 mile the next. But, it's a steady increase, and building my mileage up, doing a lot more circuit training stuff and able to do some more reps. You guys have been seeing it on my Insta stories, and they're getting the pull-ups in, just it feels good to move your own body around and also see the progress over time, man. So especially with my stamina. So I'm gearing up, man. I'm getting ready for this thing, and I'm gonna make it happen this year.
All right. Yep. Hey, Ricky, man, I just want to jump straight into it. Is that all right?
Today's guest is Ryan White. Ryan is a 7-figure digital entrepreneur, influencer, investor, press contributor, and speaker. He has curated a personal online network of 500,000 people from all around the world. Ryan has also been featured on various entrepreneurial and business podcasts such as Entrepreneurs on Fire, Underdog Empowerment, The No Excuse Show, and the live television show Good Morning La La Land in West Hollywood. Ryan, thank you for joining us.
I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Oh man, appreciate it. Hey, I could tell you, I always tell Ricky how I meet people, and we start talking to people and get people on for an interview. It's very funny, and you're gonna hear about his handle and everything. But Ryan has a lot of followers, and a lot of times people with a lot of followers, they don't talk to guys that don't have a lot of followers. But Ryan was very willing, able to come onto our show. And he jumped right on and said, hey, I'm going to tell you guys about success and everything like that. So, Ryan, why don't you just give us a little insight on who you are?
Yeah, man, for sure. I appreciate the intro. And so for those who don't know me, obviously, my name's Ryan White. I'm from a small town in South Georgia, a town of about 3,300 people, actually. I was basically raised in the baseball world pretty much my whole life, from the time I was able to walk. I had a bat and a ball in my hand, and had a little bit more of a competitive nature than most people because all the way, through middle school and high school ball, my dad was actually my high school baseball coach. And so, coming kind of underneath him, who, from a guy who played college ball and a little semi-pro ball, I always had this drive to be successful at a very, very young age, right? I was always pushed to kind of be the best version of myself. And so I contribute a lot of that to my success. I mean, even looking back, like in grade school, and we have a little funny inside joke I kind of like to kind of use as an icebreaker for people. I was actually my high school class salutatorian, but the kicker here is because the town was so small, we actually only had 92 kids that I graduated with. So we always get a good laugh out of that one. But I ended up going to school at Carson Newman University on a baseball scholarship in Jefferson City, Tennessee. And so I was there from 2008 to 2012, and I graduated with a bachelor's in accounting. Very quickly, man, I realized when I got out of school and did my first 2 internships with accounting, I realized I hated accounting, and I was sitting here now going, oh, wow, I'm a 21, 22-year-old kid with student loan debt, and I have this degree in a field that I absolutely can't stand. So what's my next move, And so, yeah, man, that's just a little background about me. And, I'm sure you guys can get a kick out of that, man. But into my story because I know it resonates with my audience a lot of times. It hasn't always been, a high road, right? Every entrepreneur journey has some lows in there. And so, a lot of this is news to a lot of people that follow me because, when I got done kind of playing ball, I had a lot of highs there, right? Coming from a small town, it was very much, I was a big fish in a small pond, and, both my parents were born and raised kind of from there. And so our whole family was known. So it was very much a situation where, honestly, things just kind of always went my way. And then you move into college, and I was successful in school and in high school and college. And then when I got out, though, for the first time when I was thrown out into the real world and my baseball career ended, I actually worked. A lot of people don't know this about me, but I worked as a bank teller at Tennessee State Bank, man. So I was literally 21, 22 years old, at one of the lowest points in my life. I was making $11 an hour and $40,000 in student loan debt. and I remember, man, just clocking into work every day, like pretty much are the better days of Ryan White's life, behind him. Am I going to be doing this for the next 20, 30, 40 years? You know what I mean? And dude, I was in a dark spot. And so luckily, I had a phone conversation with my mom because, again, I was 8 hours away, right? I'm an 18, the 22-year-old kid living 400 miles away from home. And so she's like, we got to get you back to Georgia. And luckily, when I got back to Georgia, I was introduced into an opportunity to where I could get back into the baseball world. And so from 2013 to 2017, I was actually a private baseball instructor for a top 3 travel organization in the country. So that's kind of what I was doing before I got into what I'm doing now.
Wow, that's a lot. That's a lot. In a short amount of times or years, you went through a lot already. Oh yeah, man. And that's the biggest thing is, like, I feel like there was a misconception with my story because, it always, like, when I talk to people, they're like, dude, you've always just kind of had a golden life, and I'm like, what do you mean by that? And they're like, well, dude, you always excelled at school. You always excelled, like, in high school at sports. You got a college baseball scholarship. Now, they missed all the in between. They kind of see me as a private instructor. I was making decent money. I mean, I was making, $60,000, like, as a private baseball instructor, which is, in America, that's good money. Yeah. And, but now they look at me and they're like, dude, and then you turn on to Social Revelation, your company. Next thing you know, you're making 7 figures in less than 2 years. Like, what, and they never really stopped to kind of hear the full story about how there was literally a 6 to 12 month period where, dude, I was like, literally, like, almost depressed. You know what I mean? Yeah. So let me
ask like you a lot of times we don't go far enough back for people to see that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Correct. And a lot of people, what on the road to success, what I'm gathering is a lot of people, they look and they just see the exterior of what you have. They don't look at they don't know really what happens. It's just like what that picture when you see the iceberg. You see the top of the iceberg, but you don't see the bottom, how far the bottom goes. And I know a lot of people probably look at your Instagram, and after this, they're going to look at your Instagram. They're going to see in front of the BMW, and you dress real nice, and you're clean cut, and and all that kind of stuff. But what I want you to do is to actually tell them, how did you obtain that 7 figures that you're talking about?
For sure. So, I mean, it all started naturally. So if we go back to the beginning, because people ask me, like, man, did you always think you were going to start a social media marketing company? The answer to that is no. And I tell people all the time who are wanting to get involved with entrepreneurship to just start doing. And a lot of the times that, the stars will typically align with what you're supposed to do. It just all starts with this massive action. Like, I'm a big Grant Cardone advocate. For those who follow, entrepreneurship, he's big time on massive action and 10x energy. And so, that's kind of what I started. So for me, it was the company, the baseball company that I was working for. They put me over to social media because I was the youngest in the organization. So naturally, they wanted me to kind of bring that younger element, to the company. Yeah. And so I started to get some pretty good traction with this travel baseball company. And so I got to thinking one day, I'm like, man, if I can get these results for this company, why wouldn't I be able to replicate this for myself? And so that was when the wheels kind of started turning. And then it got to a point to where, I was working from, 10 o'clock in the morning to, kind of 3 o'clock when kids got out of school, just doing admin stuff on the social media side. And then I would do my private instruction, my actual lessons from 3 to 8 p.m. And, from 8 p.m., though, when I would get home at night and I had any free time at all, I would spend all of that time till about midnight, literally just, doing a ton of research, studying the greats, studying other influencers who were killing the game, figuring out how I could take what they were doing that was working and put my own kind of, experience with it to kind of bring something new and hip to the table. And I was just split testing a lot of different ideas. And then, naturally, as you do that for a long enough period of time, I stumbled across something that was a home run for me. And, at one point I was growing my personal Instagram 10,000 new followers per month. And naturally, I started gaining a lot of attention from people on the outside saying, hey, man, can you do this for me? And so it got to the point where I was literally just kind of wheeling and dealing and hustling this thing. Like, yeah, I'll do it for free. Give me $10, $20, $30, because I was trying to get enough testimonies to make sure this could work for not only myself, but, across all niches. And do was I would take everyone that I had worked with and I would put them inside this Telegram channel. And after about 3 to 6 months, I realized I had over 100 people in this channel. And it was at that moment where I was like, wow, there's value here. We should probably start a business.
Wow.
And so that's kind of how it all got going and kind of how it all started to manifest for me. And but like I said, man, if I had to attribute to one thing, it's just number one, having a vision. You have to understand that, there is a better life. Number two, you have to be able to see that better life, right? You have to be able to vision that end goal. And then number three, really, it's just, putting consistency behind massive action. And then when you do that for a long enough time, you're going to see results. Like everything in life has a formula, right? A success formula. And so, it's proven, like if you want to lose weight, you do A, B, and C and you'll lose weight, right? It's the same thing with being successful. As the more I've learned and done my personal development every day, I've started to learn there is a success formula. If you do A, B, and C, you will get X, Y, and Z. It's just a matter of time.
Man, Ryan, man, you are, man, my phone is so hot right now. It's burning up in my hand,
got
man.
Some value bombs, baby. That's why we're here.
So a couple of things that I heard from you, a couple of things, man. One was timing. Because you built a platform off of social media. Now, 10, 15 years ago, that would not have happened. Probably at the time, I'm trying to see, you graduated with, I'm looking at your information. You graduated when? 2012?
2008 from high school, 2012 from college. Yeah.
Okay. So 2008 from high school. So 2008 from high school, Instagram, I don't even think Instagram was even live yet, 2008.
Yeah. I don't think it
was just
actually,
really getting off going.
Yep.
Yeah.
So Facebook was like 0405. Yeah.
Yep. Exactly. So it's like, so this timing now where you're sitting there and you're working with these as a baseball instructor, as a coach, something that you had done during school, you done what you did well in it. Now you're giving back to this organization and teaching other people. And in that, as you're doing that, you find that niche. You find that thing that, man, what if I do this? And it's like you went to school, did your 4 years in accounting, came out on accounting, and you're like, well, I don't really like numbers that well. But you didn't like numbers in that way, but you like numbers, but it was just a different way.
Exactly.
Yeah. So now, listeners, what I'm trying to get across is like, the timing is everything. And you said something key, acting on it.
Thank you for listening to the Success Journey Show. Please follow us on our social media on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook at The Success Journey Show. Also, check out our website at thesuccessjourneyshow.com. Thank you for listening and enjoy the rest of the show.
Talk to some of the listeners, because some of the listeners right now, Ryan, are struggling because they're not acting on the opportunities that's in front of them right now.
For sure, man. And I see that a lot of the times. The biggest advice that I could give someone is just to start doing. I mean, I use an analogy all the time of a snowball sitting on top of Mount Everest. And all we need is to manufacture just a little bit of momentum to get that thing over the edge and start rolling downhill. Because once that thing gets rolling downhill, it's naturally going to pick up momentum and speed as it starts going. But sometimes I feel like, we all get inside our head and we have all these different excuses as to why we can't get started. A lot of the times it's because we feel like, that one thing that we thought we would start doing today is so minuscule that it really wouldn't make a difference. When in fact, it's that small little stepping stone that if you actually went out and just did that, it would be enough to get that snowball moving down that mountain, where 3 to 6 months later, you're looking back and you're on a podcast telling your story. So that's the biggest piece of advice I could say, because in all honesty, it's, you don't necessarily, sometimes we always feel like we have to have the full plan laid out, right? A to Z. We have to have this perfect plan before we can start acting. And just the reality is we don't need a plan at all. We just need to start doing. And it's through the doing that we actually stumble across our calling. And that's what happens.
Yeah. Tell them. I'm telling, and a lot, you're the perfect person. I mean, everybody could tell somebody the information you're giving, but we have to be honest. The world today, we enamor, or we look at people that are, they have the things that everybody deem as success, the car, the 7 figures and that, but they don't listen. They want to get it. But when you sit down and you say, okay, so do you want this? Okay, this is what you got to do. You got to wax on and wax off.
Exactly.
Like Mr. Miyagi, right? And then you're like, no, I want to learn how to do it right away. You're like, no, you got to wax on and wax off for a couple of months or years before this happened. Because like you said, everybody looked at you and said, oh, you're the golden boy. But they didn't see when you're in your room and feeling almost depressed and all that kind of stuff, man. So I love it. Yeah. I love it.
I want to give this analogy to your audience because, I heard it from Andy Frisella, another big-time entrepreneur, and it resonated well with me. So I know that there's some people listening in that it will resonate with as well. But, based off what you just said, there's an analogy of an axe, right? So let's just say we have an axe. It's a powerful tool. It shaped our entire landscape that we live in today, right? But if that axe is laying on my floor, it's doing nothing. It does me no good. Okay. So we have to understand that in order for that axe, to be the powerful tool that it was created to be, the first thing we have to do is we have to put axe up, right? I got to go pick it up, number one, and I got to put effort behind it. Okay, so let's use a tree as an example of whatever goal it is that we're trying to knock down, right, or to achieve. Yeah. So in our tool here being our axe, we have to first pick it up and we got to put effort behind it. The second thing we have to do when we go to this tree or our goal, we have to put consistency. Okay, so if I'm hitting this tree up and down indefinitely, it's never going to fall, right? I have to be consistently hitting the same spot on that tree to basically move, my position forward. The third thing is over time, it doesn't matter how much effort I'm putting in or how consistent I'm being. I have to take time to sharpen my blade. And the blade in this sense is my mind. Mm-hmm. Okay. And then we have to also understand the fourth factor in here, like you just said, is no matter how much effort I'm putting into this axe, no matter how consistent I'm hitting the same spot, no matter how sharp my blade is, we have to understand the fourth element is time, and it's going to take time for the tree to fall.
Yes, sir. So, yes, sir.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. Listeners, Ricky, go ahead, man. I don't want to say nothing. Okay, go
ahead. No, I love it. I love that analogy. It's axe. So you said one point of that analogy: sharpen your blade. Right. And you mentioned it a little earlier about your personal development, but you also mentioned at a time where, the 6 months, 8 to 18 months, whatever the exact time frame was, that you started to get into a kind of a depressed state as to, hey, did I see the best, the best days of Ryan White? Are they behind me?
Yeah, exactly.
So talk about that personal development side that allow you to sharpen your mind, to get you going in this direction.
100%. So, if someone were to ask me what's the biggest piece of advice that I do daily, it's, in order to kind of be successful and to stay motivated and all that sort of stuff, the biggest thing that I could say would be we all have to have a positivity flow into our life every day. And I never really understood this as a kid growing up. We all want to graduate from high school, graduate from college, and we want to be done with education. But it was the moment that I started to realize and buy into the concept of lifelong learning, by going out and getting a mentor, by going and making sure that every morning, a morning routine is crucial in order for us to set up our day, right?
Yes,
so
it is.
This whole idea that if you study the greats, a morning routine is imperative so that when you wake up, you actually control your day instead of letting the day control you and you're just living the day, right? And so it's in that morning session for me when I kind of podcast or listen to at least 2 chapters of an audio book, because another little thing that I like to tell people is, if Grant Cardone can still be, a mentor, although you're not personally meeting and talking with him every day, if your guy can be Andy Frisella, Ed Mylett, Tony Robbins, we can go on and on and on, if you're all over the content that these people are putting out, these people do podcast interviews and, all the time. They have their own podcast. So if you make it a part of your daily morning routine and you have this positivity flow coming into your life, it's this whole concept of osmosis, right? You're surrounding yourself with all of this energy that they're putting out. And so, again, if you want to be successful and you want to be sitting in the seat, one day that you aspire to be, why wouldn't you go and learn from someone who's already sitting in that seat that you want to sit in? And so it was this whole idea that I got to start surrounding myself and pouring into my life people who are already doing the things that I want to do. And it was at that moment when I started to see some real results in my life.
Man, hey, so that's another thing that I want to topic that I want to touch on. So you said your father was your coach in high school. You moved away 400 miles away. You're going to school by yourself, on alone and unafraid. And now you're at this job and you're getting $11 an hour. And your mom says, "Hey, come on home, baby, come on home."
That's right.
And then you go on home now, and you're back in your element. Now, explain to us that support system. Your mother, your father, whoever was there as your support system. Who helped you and groomed you? That mentor that you said you looked for.
For sure. So, again, when you live by yourself, by the way, for 5 years, it's never a good feeling to move back in with your parents, especially at 21, 22 years old, right? That's a tough pill to swallow for a lot of young athletes, right? Who are pretty confident in their abilities. So, number one, I have a great set of parents. My mom and dad, they've always went above and beyond. So just to give you a little background on them, like they've been school educators for over 30 years. Like they've worked for the state, been school teachers, and they just, a lot of the times, man, I grew up a lot on credit cards and stuff with travel baseball as it was getting bigger because, again, as educators, we all know it's the most underpaid and, job in America, honestly, so shout out to the teachers, but it was nice that I had a place, to obviously, because it was being back home and just, in the comfort of my home and getting back around the whole sporting world that allowed me to find myself again, honestly, get back to my roots. And it was in those moments when I got back in my roots to where all the feelings that I had as a 10-year-old boy, where I had aspirations to do big things, right? I knew I would be the CEO of a company one day as young as 10 years old, just going back to being successful. Like I always had a goal, literally as far back as I can remember as a teenager, of I will be a 6-figure earner one day. To me in the South, that was kind of the threshold to be considered financially successful, at least in our eyes. Like if I can make $100,000 a year, I would be considered financially successful. So I had a goal literally back when I was in Little League of one day, I don't know how I'm going to do it, but I'm going to make $100,000. And so I've always known that. And it was at the moment when I got back home, right around my support system, started to manifest those feelings again. And I thought it was going to be in private instruction, obviously in the coaching. That's why I got into that. It was my first love, baseball, right? My passion. And it just so happened that, like I said, just having a vision, of wanting to be successful and then putting action behind that vision, which kind of has landed me now into owning my own company. And so it's kind of like, from an early age, my destiny has now brought me here into 2019 to doing what I'm doing. And now for the first time in my life, I truly feel like I'm doing what I was called to do.
So Ryan, when you had that aspiration, I want to make 6 figures, I want to make $100,000, right? Whatever, past that mark.
Right.
When you got there, did you feel you arrived? Do you feel like, oh man, this is great? Like, oh man, I'm done. Like this is it. Hang it up.
Dude, it's funny. It's a funny game we play as humans, honestly. I did. It was definitely relief. Don't let me kid you. I mean, it was nice to know, something I've always wanted to do. I'm finally here. Mm-hmm. But at the same time, when you look at, the greats like Warren Buffett, who says, never get complacent, right? He talks
Correct.
about how, the fastest way to a business failing is complacency. And so it was almost like, once I got there, it was like, I know I've just scratched the surface of my potential. So if we're buying into this lifelong learning and we buy into the concept of personal development every day, how can I stop at six figures? Right. I was still hungry. And I knew there was more. And because I had got to six figures so fast. So I was like, ooh, so now I'm motivated. Right now I'm on fire. I'm like, ooh, what are we going to do next year? What are we going to do next year? What am I going to do in the next 30 days? And man, it was funny because that's why it's so important that, that you surround yourself with like-minded individuals. I can't put enough importance on networking and surrounding yourself with people who are aligned with your same vision and goals, because the reality is entrepreneurship, man, can be a very lonely road. It can be because anytime, entrepreneurs by nature usually take the path less traveled by. Okay. If you look at, 97% of the world, they work 9 to 5, right? Everyone kind of goes this way. And so anytime you veer off and you go over here and people don't understand it, what happens? People start to throw shade, and you have what causes, what people call or term as haters. They start to arrive, right? That's a real thing. And it was funny because if you're not surrounding yourself with the right people, when those haters arrive, and you don't have anybody to hang out with because they think what you're doing, you're not going out with them now on Friday, Saturday night. You're choosing to stay home and work on your personal development. Maybe it's listening to an audiobook, or maybe it's going through a course that you bought online. They don't really understand that world. And so, but if you surround yourself with people who are similar in your thoughts, you need those people in those lows to build you back up. And you play off each other's wins. I have a great set of people. Like, I'll be honest with you now. And it's not that I've pushed my high school and college friends away. Don't get me wrong. They have a special place in my life. Not everybody was born to be an entrepreneur.
Yeah, correct.
There's a time for that. But I feel like life is built in stages, right? So, at certain times, it's okay, to go hang out with those people. But the reality is even if I was with those people, like, they want to go do things that that doesn't necessarily align with what I need to be doing to better my situation, if that makes sense.
Correct.
And so
I understand.
Yeah. And so it's this whole idea of we're the average of the 5 people we hang around most. And right now, man, honestly, the top 5 people I hang around most are somewhere between the age of 21 to 35. And every single one of them either makes 6, 7, or 8 figures. And so I joke about this with people all the time, because again, in this digital marketing world, dude, every time I take my BMW i8, right, which is a 6-figure car, usually the brokest person in my crew. And I like that, right? I like that because that's why I live in Buckhead, Atlanta. Because when I'm whipping my car around, I have a Lamborghini on both sides of me, or a Maserati, and there's a Ferrari, you know what I mean? And there's a McLaren. And so it's just this whole idea of, I got to continue to rank myself up. I can't get complacent because these people are going to be right here passing me and trying to take what I've already built. And we just can't allow that to happen.
Oh, man.
So Ryan, tell us the difference from someone that gets on Instagram or any of these social media platforms and someone that, takes it and explodes it up and, develops a following, develops friends, whatever platform you're on, and versus quickly, or just a massive amount like you have, or any other people you're associated with, versus someone that gets on and just has maybe, like us, maybe we have 100 something followers, or other people that have maybe 50, other people that have maybe 1,000, 2,000. Like, what's the difference? Like, what is the differentiating factor between those platforms or individuals and how they're, positioning themselves out there? And I don't want you to send out any proprietary information, the company does, but at a high level.
The biggest thing, man, is understanding that in order to be successful on any social media platform, you have to master storytelling. Number one, you got to master storytelling. People like to be connected. We as human beings like to connect with other people. So, just some helpful advice. I tell people, number one, if you're going to get involved, which you should, because there is such massive opportunity, that surrounds social media. It's so lucrative that it just doesn't make sense. You know, when you have a platform that has 1 billion active monthly users, which is literally 1 out of every 7 people on this earth have an active profile on Instagram. Like if you're not there and you're a business owner, you're just literally missing out. But, you know, so number one, you got to get clear cut on how do you want to be perceived? That's the biggest thing. And so you got to know, you got to get in touch with yourself and you got to go, okay, what do I want to push out into the world? You know, how do I want to be perceived by other people around me? And then number 2, once you know what that is, you know, you got to align, you know, your bio and then the content you're putting out all needs to streamline with that vision. Okay. With that portrayal of how you want people to see you. And then, like I said, the third aspect of it is just becoming a really good storyteller. Because again, you know, as you start to tell stories, people start to connect with you as an individual, which is why Instagram lives and Facebook lives and YouTube lives and the Twitter's Periscope are all so important and can really, 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 you know, hype you up when it comes to social media and get you more views on your stuff. You know, again, you master storytelling and your audience will grow if you have a streamlined and clear cut vision on who you are. You know, I tell people all the time on your Instagram, when I land on your page, you know, we have a very quick attention span nowadays in 2019.
Correct.
You know, we can hold people's attention for like 15 seconds. So I tell people within 5 seconds, when I land on your page, I need to know who you are, what I can expect from you if I were to become a follower of your page. And like, I need to kind of know what you do and all that sort of stuff. So who you are, what you do, and what I can expect if I follow the page. And if I don't know that in within 5 seconds, then you're probably kind of a little bit scattered on your positioning of your page. And you need to kind of take a step back, re-examine your strategy, and get a little bit more in line and consistent with what you're doing.
Love it. So go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
But yeah, I mean, just and touching a little bit more. I mean, dude, if you build an audience base, when we talk about just the endless amounts of ways that you can make money, like for instance, and I won't throw out any actual brand names, but you know, to give you an example, because I have over 500,000 people, you know, I do several thousand a week in just working with brand collaboration. So this has nothing to do at all with even my company. I do a few thousand a week, literally on just, you know, other brands reaching out to me going, hey, you know, we want to pay you $2,000 or $3,000 and have you post our brand on your story. I mean, it's that simple because we want to reach those thousands of people. You know, I think
people
right now
that you have,
yeah, be anywhere from 12 to 20,000 story views. So as a brand, they're like, oh, if I have, you know, a product that's $150 and I can pay Ryan $2,000 and he posts it and I make $5,000. Well, they'll do that every day of the week. And so it's a win-win for all parties involved. You know what I mean? Yeah. And that's, dude, it's crazy. All the things you can build email lists from social media pages. You can drive traffic to landing pages. You can sell, you know, courses, ebooks. I mean, we could sit here and have a whole podcast on just Instagram and social media. But my point is, you know, the financial opportunity that surrounds it is just, it's crazy, man. And it's only going to get bigger as we move into, into 2019 and even 2020 and 2021. So now's a great time to kind of get involved.
Love it.
Now, not one last question, but my question, I'd like you to, how could you know the fakers out there? Because, you know, I'll give you a scenario. Say I saw you, I was like, oh man, look at Ryan White. And then I came down to Atlanta and then I say, hey, Ryan, what's going on? I see you driving a 1942 Honda Civic. Right?
You got to be careful, man. There's a lot of people out there, that do all this. They rent cars and all this stuff. It's funny because I've had a couple people hit me up and go, oh man, I thought you rented that car. You actually own it? And I'm like, yeah, dude, I actually can show you the papers. Like I own
exactly right.
But yeah, man, it's funny because we have a saying in this world: if you build it, they'll believe it. And then, kind of aside from that is, once you've built it and they believe it, what happens is, digital perception will actually turn into everyday reality. And I'm a proven testimony of that.
Man, wow. I love it.
No, I love it, man. Love it. But I tell you, Ryan, this has been a great discussion. I mean, you're dropping some nuggets, and I mean, there's so many things that the listeners can take away from this thing. and whether they have a social media platform, whether they, just life in general, starting their own business, whether that they're in college, and they're getting ready to come to the end and they're like, man, do I really want to do this in life, man? And we touched on almost every aspect of it. Talk to us. One last thing, what we like to do for some of our listeners is to say, hey, where you are now, a few years back, maybe 10 years ago, or right when you were finishing high school or whatever it may be, that point, that Ryan that was so ambitious and ready to start college and, become that great, successful accountant, what would you know now? What would you say to that Ryan?
For sure. So I would honestly, if I could go back, I would tell myself to get started earlier. Again, going back to, we all have our own reservations about why we push it back and push it back and push it back. And the reality is like I said, everything has a proven formula, even success. And, if you're literally, taking notes on, okay, I want to be successful and kind of fast track this, what do I need to do? I would say, start doing something today. Get started now, because when you look back in 10 years and you've made your millions, you're going to be like, man, I wish I would have done that 2 years earlier, but the reality is you can't if you keep pushing it off. We can't go back in time. And so, number one is just get started. Number two, network. I mean, again, some people say, your network is your net worth. And that I 100% believe in that, because I would not be where I am today. And I definitely wouldn't have scaled as fast as I did without networking, and which through networking, obviously I met some powerful people, but I also met all the CEOs of all the partner firms that I have around the globe. Mm-hmm. And so, you got to network. Number three, you got to have that positivity flow. Okay. This all starts with, you need to start pouring positivity into your life. If you're not podcasting every day, you need to at least be reading an audiobook or listening to an audiobook every day. You have to have something that's flowing new information into your life so that you can capitalize on that new information.
Yeah.
And then the final thing, man, is just like I said, surround yourself with people. This whole idea of ranking up. Go figure out how you can get inside of a circle with 5 people. That's naturally the habits of these successful people, the things they say, the things they're doing, where they're investing their money, all that stuff, as you're around those people, starts to flow into your life. And then you start to realize, okay, this is what I need to be doing. And then you do that stuff. And next thing you know, you're sitting in that same seat that they're in. Right. And so that's probably what I would tell myself.
Love man, Ryan, I want to just thank you for being the kind of person you are, because like I said, somebody that has 500,000 followers, I've talked to people that have 10,000 followers and they're like, and what we've been noticing with a lot of successful people, and I can't stop reiterating this, is that they're willing to stop, look back. Just like how they expected to have a mentor, they want to mentor people and say, hey, this is what you need to do in order to get where you're going. I want to thank you for not just having your, because there's not a lot of people that's going to make 7 figures. Not that the average American don't make 7 figures. So there's not a lot of people that have the 7 figures that can stop and say, you know what, I need to give back. I need to help. I need to be the person that's going to be more instrumental in getting people to their goals. So I want to thank you for that, man.
Absolutely.
I appreciate that, my man. And on that, I'm going to throw one final gold nugget to your audience before we get out of here. Based on that, it's a 33% rule. And all that basically means, if you've never heard it, is, we need to, as individuals, where we are in our current situation, we need to spend 33% of our time on people who are above us, right? That's basically so we can pull the knowledge base from people above us so we can get to where they are. Okay. We need to spend the other 33% of people who are on our same level, right? So people that we can bounce our ideas off of, and, we build off one another. So if we're in one of our low moments, we have that person who's on our level who can build us back up. Okay. And then the other 33%, of course, is we have to take time to basically, I don't want to say below us, but we have to spend 33% of our time to help people and pull them up to where we are. So we have this whole idea of giving back. And so that's just I wanted to throw that in there, because again, man, you got to always remember where you come from. And we all had to have help from the top, from someone above us at some point on our journey. And so I try to give that back as well.
Man,
love it. Well, you guys hear it. We had Ryan White here. And Ryan, before we let you go, can you share with the listeners areas where they can contact you, website, social media platforms, so that they can follow you and just see you on your journey?
For sure. So, my personal website is just officialryanwhite.com. The easiest place to connect with me is on Instagram. My handle is just @RyanWhite. And, again, you can kind of flow through to my Facebook and all that good stuff from my Instagram on my website. But if you're interested in learning a little bit about, our social media company and how we can help people, scale and even monetize, their Instagram and other social media accounts, that's just, we have an Instagram @socialrevelation. And then our website for that is just socialrevelation.co, which is socialrevelation.co.
Oh, man. And when I come to Atlanta, I guess I get to drive the I-8, right?
Yes, sir. You already know, baby. You already know. Just keep it under 150.
I hear you.
Love it. Love it. Well, listeners, we come to the end of another show, another great guest, and we just want to thank him for his time. Listen, if you're really enjoying these podcasts, you're really enjoying just being exposed to the minds of these great individuals that are moving and shaking the world that's around them, why don't you go onto our website and subscribe, subscribe to join the Journey Squad. Of that Journey Squad, you get first access to our newsletters and other events and specials that we have going on with the Success Journey Show, but also on the platform that you enjoy listening your podcast on, whether it's on iTunes, whether it's Google, whether it's Spotify, you name it, whatever it is that you listen to. Why don't you leave a review, whether it's a 5-star, 4-star, 3-star, whatever you feel appropriate. And if you have any comments, let us know. We would love to improve this show for you and bring on guests that are relevant to where you are in your life. And if you want to be on the show, reach out to us. If you want to share your story, reach out to us and share about your story and where you're going on your journey. Hey, listen, we're here for you. We're here to help you to get to your destination. And we will see you next week at the same time, the same place on the Success Journey Show. Thank you. Have a good one.
One love.
You've been listening to the Success Journey Show, where your dreams, drive, determination, and diligence are the foundation to success. For more information, check out thesuccessjourneyshow.com. The Journey Squad is here helping you to your destination.